It is my pleasure to welcome everyone on behalf of Faculty of Public Administration, School of Distance Education, University of Kerala, to the second session of the third day of our webinar. Without any further delay, let me introduce and welcome Dr. Raimol Ravi, who will be chairing the session. She works as Assistant Professor in Department of Political Science, Sree Varma College, Thrissur. Dr. Raimol Ravi, over to you, ma'am.
Respected Dr. Rajita, esteemed guests, friends, and scholars. I'm Dr. Raimol Ravi, Assistant Professor in the Department of Political Science, Sree Varma College, Thrissur. And first and foremost, let me thank Dr. Rajita for inviting me to chair the session. Thank you very much, ma'am. I've been a part of SB in the past for 2 years, and she has been a great support to me at those periods. It was a really nice period for me. And I'm really happy to be a part of SD again, and thank you for calling me. Now we have been deliberating on the concept of the new normal and um, how the world present to us the new normal is how the present time is affecting for a long future. I simply just want to just touch upon what new normal means in a global perspective. We have been deliberating about new normal with respect to India in such some ways for and respect to Kerala, post-COVID new normal and things like that. It has been all related to post-COVID situation. Of course, post-COVID is affecting the whole world, and I just want to speak about. The new normal, the new normal driven technology, normal driven life of the in a global perspective. I hope you could hear me now. Yeah, thank you. The new normal refers to the ongoing situation, like the life, a sudden change in the life, like spatial life, education. We all know because of the changes in education, new normal world that we are sitting here deliberating in our homes itself. I think it has changed a life. We have been expecting change, but it was not this in a short time span. And technological developments were helping us in different ways. We were changing digitally, and now it's suddenly the whole world have to change to the new normal situation. So this term initially appeared in the post First World War period, where actually there's a time when there were no wars and people could live normal lives. That was new normal at that time. Then after Second World War, the world changed a lot, and need for peace came in. The it after a depression, a change that have caused because of a depression, any kind of thing that make a drastic change can be called new normal. Then again, there is a theory associated with it that is called normalization process theory. It's a sociological theory where as innovation, change and innovations, everything works in a faster pace in the period of pandemics. And the way we implement things and things suddenly changes. And within a short period of time, people take it as really normal in their lives, and that can be called a new normal. That is a new normal or normalization theory. The ones who actually adapted to new normals are organizations, basically private organizations, where technology driven practices were actually happening. More technology driven practices were happening over there. And but suddenly when COVID pandemic came, all the institutions were forced. Even the institutions which were not technologically driven was forced to be a part of the system. Organizations were not able to give adequate training to the people and things like that. So there was a change in the private sector. Then again, the pandemic made the people to work remotely, expand again. Data collecting was there. The way the work, many workers were laid off when the start of the pandemic, and the contingent kind of workers have been recruited. Uh, many things happened in the field. So this transition from a kind of normalcy to something absolutely different in a small period of time to increase the organizational ability, um, to be resilient to the to what has happened to the world is what we call a new normal. Then in the post-pandemic world, might be we are not yet to the world. There might be, because of the changes that have happened, there might be different challenges too. When people's when we are secluded at, or isolated at home, different problems, mental health problems occur. We are secluded. I mean, uh, at home with a toxic partner, maybe there might be problems. Then again, these kind of mental health issues can be at a rise. Then again, artificial intelligence and robotics and things like that will be more there in the life of every human being. The risk of security will be there. The privacy is now in the whatever we call about the as privacy. It was already open via Facebook or Twitter or whatever it be, but still it will be more open and obvious. Even our banking system, banking passwords, everything can be at risk. So the best and the worst of the man can be found from these things. So everything have kind of adapted to the new technological development and things like that. Then the best thing that have came out of this pandemic is smarter systems for health have been created. Many countries, even the African countries, if we take, they is, might be the money which they have kept for development, they have to inject into the health system, and the health system have developed far better than what it was previously being done. So artificial intelligence, virtual reality, etc., have come into a healthcare system, and it is having a quantum jump in the system. Of course, it all comes with a price of like our present life. If we look at education, COVID-19, we have shut almost all throughout the world. The schools have been shut, colleges have been shut, and children were out of classroom. And the problem is that in developed countries, it must not be a problem. Like they can use advanced technology to take classes with many different applications and all. But what about the case third world children where they have no access to technology? There are many countries where the access to technology is minimal, where only 20% of the people there is have got access to technology. 20 to 30% of the people have access to technology. The rest have been left out from the system of education. So these things need to be taken care of in the forthcoming future. So even though technology ridden education have been is there are quite a struggle too in this particular field. There are gaps which prevails between the advantaged and disadvantaged group. If we cannot simply say advantages and disadvantaged group within a country. There are countries which are disadvantaged. Like maybe in India, Kerala might be a bit more advantages than many other states where there is more poverty. They cannot have access to technology. In countries like many countries in Africa where they have lost their livelihood, we cannot even think about technology or students' education and things like that. Whereas in countries Europe, or Scandinavian countries, or America, they can tide over because of their technological development. So we see a large gap between the haves and have-nots to an extent. And about poverty, when we come, even before the pandemic, uh, more than 1 billion children in the world have been under poverty. And during the pandemic, even 100 million have been added to that poverty. So there was a 10% increase after the pandemic. So this, even though many countries have invested, like they have given free food and healthcare and all to many people, but many countries they were not able to reach. So these things have been taken by some kind of global bodies or things like UNICEF or UN have to take care of these kind of things. And whatever happens, like in the future, if something like this happen, we should not leave the people to suffer poverty, children to suffer poverty. These things have to be taken care of. Children's nutrition is important, children's education, the protection from their mental health is important. Protection even from people within the houses, the relatives and all. So the resilience is required for the entire population, human population, in case of yet another pandemic or any other problem that may come. So we'll have to adjust, we'll have to make quantum changes even after this period tides on. Then there are the role of administrators. Every country there are administrators who are in charge, and um, they they have to be they have to ensure public services. They have to be humane in the approach to the people and the beneficiaries. They will have to be innovative in their creation, thinking, and application of the work. Uh, there should be information regarding what they are doing. They have to be responsible and responsive. They have to make people understand the credibility of the institution, so that people could trust the institution and come back if they need any help. And these kind of things have to be done in the coming period. Then there is a north south. We have been telling this. There is a north south divide. North south divide basically means north means developed countries, and south connotes to lesser developed countries or developing countries, or whatever we say. So this considerable north south divide. Uh, Basically, North have developed with exploiting and impoverishing the people of the South, like in the period of colonization or even after colonization. Society in the countries are subduing other countries to get the material wealth from. So these things are there. So this is basically North-South divide, where the North is developed in the expense of the South. And we can see in different forms in different countries now. In the case of pandemic, China have full or partial lockdowns in place, and it was able to restrict to an pandemic to an extent. And most African countries followed the suit. And initial wave of pandemic, they were able to lessen the pandemic, the gravity of the pandemic. But the developed countries were at ease, and at that point of time, in the first wave, they were not able to easily control the pandemic. Later, they studied from it, and second wave and third wave was not that harsh. So it is a government who have to take measures to lessen the problems created by the pandemic. And again, in Africa, when we have to say there are other diseases like Ebola and things like that. And with the COVID protocol in place, when the people started using hand washers and other things like sanitizer, hand washing, and all other things, using mask and all, they were also even able to contain or lessen the cases of typhoid, influenza, cholera, diphtheria, etc. So with that, the change that happened is like we are doing for to prevent COVID-19 and other diseases to have transformable diseases to have been lessened. The people started giving more importance to sanitation and hygiene. Of course, the money which was put for development was used to improve the health facilities. Of course, development took a step back. That is something which cannot be denied. Then, when we say about North-South divide, the life of the people, developed countries were able to bail out people, bail out industries, bail out banks to tide the pandemic, while the developing countries have little or no money to do the same. They have been trying. They tried the best to take people out of poverty, but there have been not much success because the system, basically, system should be there in place. The system was much there in place. That was the problem in many developing countries. When the rich countries have access to technology, internet services, and other things prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, countries in the third world, they doesn't have technology, and the technology is only was concentrated in a very few people of rich people, and just about 27 to 30% people only have access to technology. Even they were not able to fully use it. And whereas when schools are shut down or communication facilities are needed, these people were basically put into such a situation that they cannot do anything. And so there is a difference between developed countries and developing countries in that manner. When we see that both developed and developing countries have the problem of unemployment, reduction in tourism, etc., we can see that there are in FDI inflows in the developing countries have gone back. Food security and insecurity rised, poverty rised, aid flows diminished or lessened. Many countries were helping them. The aids were coming from different countries, and the aids stopped coming in. The budgets towards there was a shift of budget towards health sectors than for that was used for economic development, and other different sectors might be health, sorry, might be like education or other purposes. They have to put that money into health sectors. Of course, with that, health sectors have got positive kind of improvement, but still, it is far from other countries. Now, if we take a thing about access to vaccines, India had the vaccine Maitri program just because India have been producing vaccine by Make in India program, or India had developed its own vaccine later. So that is not the case with many countries in the world. Some country in some of the vaccine producers in America was asking sovereign assets to some countries as to pledge sovereign assets so that they could give the vaccine. So these were the things that was happening. So the vaccine, the access to vaccine was very much lesser in the countries in the south, whereas developed countries were hoarding vaccines. Canada was hoarding vaccines. After a period of time, it have to be thrown out because the shelf period is very less. Things like that happen. So there is a difference. Of course, even the countries which have, I mean, Israel is fully vaccinated, but when COVID cases are there, might be not be that deadly, but still the issue is there. The COVID-19 pandemic is still there. So many countries in the north, they were able to vaccinate the people. Of course, those who feel like not vaccinating have not vaccinated. There are many theories against vaccines and all. Every country have that kind of people. And countries in the south were basically dependent on UN Gavi Vaccine Alliance or COVAX program for getting the vaccinations, and other countries aid on vaccines were coming from China, from India, and many other countries, the developed countries. Then we can see throughout the world there is gender imbalance associated with COVID-19. Gender imbalance simply means that women are those who lost jobs were women, because women could not take care both home and work at the same time. Uh, Companies prefer male to females and things like that, because of the patriarchal nature of the society throughout the world. It is not alone. It's not in our country or some third world countries. Throughout the world, this is happening. So it was 50%, more than 50% or 60% of women have lost a job. And those women who were able to hold on to the job and were asked to work from home, their spouses or the children was not allowing them to do the job. They'd have to put in extra stress to complete the job in time, and things like that have happened. So, and other flip side, which I would say about the it's not about gender inequality, but about women as such is women, the countries which women lead were able to contain pandemic, because mainly the women have a tendency to protect, and might be the tendency to protect made them close the doors faster, so that the people will be protected, and give less importance to so-called the developmental processes and things like. They give much more importance to human life and do whatever they. So this is something which is which we could see as a positive sign in what we have discovered from the pandemic. So in the way forward, when we look, we see that throughout the world there will be there was a kind of unilateralism. We have been talking about multilateralism. Multilateralism might again gain prominence. We know now the countries are aligned to different countries in one way or other. Then again, globalization is getting a hold, because we have been speaking about globalization, but uh, uh, when a pandemic occurred, we all closed the doors. Every country, let it be India, let it be any country, we were closing doors. Of course, India was not completely closing doors to any other country and hoarding all the vaccines and all, but still, many countries, if we look, when they were open to all the economic benefits of other countries, but when the pandemic came, they were not even ready to lend hands to others. So globalization have uh, put a question mark in the face of the basically the third world countries. The concept of human mobility have changed, because now many people are now working from home, basically in private institutions and all. So this concept of moving towards a workplace, moving to workplace, or migrating to workplace have a lesson. So people can be recruited from, especially in technology related field and all. They can work from home. Then why should they come and work? We need no. They can be paid less. Again, um, then social justice and other things should increase, because the effect of COVID-19 does not simply be there in a few, but it is affecting all the sections of people, be it marginalized people, and everybody is affected. Even in countries, in developed countries, the most affected people, or if you take their traits, it is the marginalized sections of the society, or that kind of people that they are who was more affected by the pandemic. So the next is that urban landscapes will be revamped. Like we can do work from home, then why go to an urban place and work? We better sit in a less urban area, smaller, concentrate on smaller cities than large cities, and things like that is coming up. So this remote work, the kind of remote work idea, have transformed the kind of thinking. Again, this remote work idea have transformed the thinking of management too, like how to take the talent. We were concentrating on skills, how the skills can be utilized effectively when they work in a remote place. The core idea have gone through a kind of transformation. So trust had gone to a smaller kind of institutions and working styles than larger kind of places and working style. Then again, mental health also comes to focus because stress-related issues have been on the rise. Uh, People are in the fear of pandemic at one side, they'll have to go and work at the other side. Losing of jobs is happening in one side. Many houses they are having toxic partners or relatives or whatever it be. And these kind of things are on the rise. We cannot dismiss that particular aspect. And even about children too. Too much time with children, some parents get frustrated over because children cannot go to school, and things like that happen in all the places. Then there are many other factors which are affected by, uh, which we have to consider in new normal. We have been speaking about new normal, about COVID-19 pandemic alone, but there are different other situations we'll have to change. Change to understand when we think about new normal. The climate change is a reality now. With that, we have a new reality now that every year there will be flood, some kind of flood somewhere, landslide. That is a new normal which we are experiencing as Malayalis. And we hear about floods in America, we hear about floods in Europe, we hear about wildfires in Australia, we hear about wildfires in Brazil. All countries, one way or other, is affected by this climatic change. So this too adds up to the new normal. We'll have to live with that too. These things have to be addressed. In COP19, in COP20, we have seen that global leaders were asking for not only about COVID-19, we are not only about pandemic, we were talking about all these kinds of things. We'll have to change. The human beings have to change to adjust to a new situation where there are a lot of factors. Even the climate, even apart from the conspiracy theories that China or COVID-19 is a bioweapon or whatever it be, like if we think, can this COVID-19 pandemic be related to climate change? Somewhere the climate have changed, the life of the animals have undergone change, some kind of mutation, something might have happened. It could be something, a nature's way to protect the stability of the world, or whatever it means. So we'll have to know, we'll have to rethink about the way we misuse our soil and things like that. Then another thing is that we have been here seeing news about poor countries getting loans and they're not being able to pay, and security of the world is a threat. Different security of different countries is a threat. So these kind of things we are living with these kind of things. So this too adds to the new normal which we are in. Then again, if we take in our country, for example, COVID-19 is and pandemic was country is concentrating on pandemic. Now let us make problems in the borders. So naturally, India have to give more attention to borders too. In between the pandemic, they had many problems not risen in the borders. Might be the way the state contained COVID might have been better. Some resources have to be utilized over there. So there are really a lot of situations which we are forced into, so that we have to take care of. And then again, we have been at the threat of hypersonic missiles or cyber warfare or satellite warfare or things like that. This all adds up to the problems which people are in the COVID, along with the pandemic. So the new world will have to see all these things. No, I'm just concentrating on the risk that is present in the new normal. We have got the risk of cybersecurity, hacking, and all other things. Workforce is at risk. We are not able to produce workforce. Like there is shortage of employees at one side, the shortages of and the people are losing jobs at another side. There is shift in the skills which are needed and things like that. Then there is a problem of complaints list that the state or the institutions which are not complying with the regulatory requirements for operations and things like that. And in fact, there are the when the new technology is coming in, might be laws might not be sufficient for that, and things like that will be at risk. Then there are risks in third party risks like hacking. There are very many vulnerabilities when we see the internet related technology and all. We see there are people in Kerala itself. We have got an example where the children's classroom, when teachers were taking classes, somebody was including in doing some nonsense and things like that happen. So there is the risk from third party. Then there will be problems of automations in the technology, compatibility problems. When one of our students we have got a lot of poor students. One of our students got an Android phone with the only money which she had, and later it turned out that she could not download Google Meet or Classroom or anything. So these problems with compatibility in the new technology, and it doesn't affect all the people, but it affects certain number of people. So there are the risk about incompatibility and things like that. Then a risk of automation. Health is going to be automated. We have been seeing these things. Many different things are being automated. It was there before the pandemic. We have been speaking about privacy. We were speaking about all those kind of things, but suddenly we are all complying with all these kind of things. So the risk provide because of automation is there. We cannot reject it. Then there is a risk of resilience. Resilience risk basically means when you want to have a job, the job provider is not alone looking for the efficiency of you, but how you, if you have got some contingency, how you come back to it, how much your resilient is something we are looking for. Then data privacy risk as our data have can be taken by anyone or from anywhere. Such a risk are there. Then again, stress related risk is of course there in every field. To basically to the stress related risk is more seen in women than men, because they have been in the dead end of the house. They have to do all the house chores, they have to do take care of the husbands, they have to take care of the children and things like that. Not all, but many people have these kind of risks. Then there are different criticisms about the new normal. The basic criticism is that new normal affects a certain number of people. It is not affecting everyone. That is the basic criticism that have been the concept of new normal. But new normal, in fact, it affects everyone in some or other way. So there are a lot of people who do day-to-day live day-to-day life, where they go for employment, they get the job, they get the food, they live, they send the children to school or something. And that kind of people, they are basically unaffected by the so-called technological interventions and things like that. Except that now the children needs kind of technology to study. Otherwise, they are not affected by this so-called new normal life. So again, another criticism is that there are disproportionate deaths and things like in marginalized societies which are being not cared about. No, the problem still persists. Racism is a problem in India. Casteism is a problem. Tribal societies are being not taken care of. These things are problems. These two have to be addressed. These things, these all are the part of the new normal. So, in a new normal world, inclusive policy making is a must. Inclusive policy making means everybody should be included. Every section of the society should be included. Women should be included. Tribal people should be included. Disabled people should be included. I haven't heard a single scheme or anything for disabled person in the entire pandemic period. I don't know whether I have missed it, but I haven't heard. So these people have to be, they too are a part of the society. These people have to be included. So one thing is that in the aftermath of the pandemic, we will be able to, we have learned a lot of lessons. We have known where the gaps are. So we'll study a lot from the pandemic, one. Then we will be under surveillance. Even before pandemic, many countries like authoritarian countries were in people were in surveillance, but the surveillance technology and things are moving further to other countries too. Then again, innovations have to be used for upliftment of the economic and social welfare. We have to rethink about the values which we have in the period, like the values which we hold. We need to change the values. There were a lot of value systems which we have to rethink, like as a society as a whole, as an individual family, as a society as a whole, and we need to change. I think I've finished it. Thank you.